It is definitely going to be a skill that will be mandatory for people now, even
Yeah.
when it comes to hiring, to have the skills for AI because it is only improving efficiency.
Right.
It is making a lot of those time consuming jobs a lot
Easier.
easier.
Being a news anchor is a very exciting job,
Yeah.
and I'm sure there's so much that goes on behind the scenes.
What you see on air, that one anchor sitting in the studio, it is a huge team effort. There are so many people behind the scenes who are the real heroes, I think, that make things happen. It is so critical and important to have a social media presence, and I'm so well aware of that, which is why I feel I'm perpetually putting myself out there. Steady, disciplined, long term investing is definitely the way to go. Mutual funds, keeping it simple, do what you understand, and that's something that I do as well.
Talking about money is your first step.
Yeah.
Only once you
Absolutely.
get comfortable talking about it, then you'll be able to ask a few more questions to a few people and be like, okay, now what do I do?
There's experts who know their stuff and you can entrust your money with them, but I think it's important to know what where is and not being completely dependent
Dependent.
on someone
Yeah.
else.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Happy Hour with Fin Cocktail. Today, we have someone who's usually sitting in my seat asking all the questions, but we've managed to put her on the other side of things, and I'm going to be asking her all the questions. She is a news presenter, a moderator, an anchor, and even an MC. Please let's welcome Avan Dabash.
Hi, I absolutely envy being on that side of the sea. Let me tell you, I'm so used to it.
I know,
But thank you for having me.
absolutely. Thanks for being here and doing this show with us. Looking forward to having a great conversation with you.
Absolutely. I hope to spill the beans.
So let me dive straight in. What were
I
your
just thought of something. It's like Negroni with Niyati. Do you want to?
Ooh, a Negroni with Niyati? That sounds good.
Yeah,
Thanks.
right?
I'm going to make that an IP of
Yeah,
some
yeah,
sort.
yeah, yeah. Think about it.
Okay,
No.
so tell me about a few moments from your early days which helped shape your career as a broadcast journalist.
Well, to be honest, as a kid, I was super shy. I was always hiding under my mother's skirt. I didn't want to meet anyone. I had this very tight, close knit of friends and group, and I didn't want to step out of it. I think it was all very gradual. I went to the Trinity College of London for speech and drama. And I think I would say that's where the seed was sown, where initially I got a lot more confident. When it came to speech and drama, I sort of thrived in that area. So that was where it all began. And a lot of credit to my mom for pushing me and taking me over there. And it was all very gradual. So I enjoyed that. And then in college, taking part in debates and sort of being on stage, I just loved being in the limelight. I modeled very briefly. I was a 17 cover girl, was in music videos and did a lot of print and things like that. And I just realized I enjoyed it. And I think one thing's also pretty important. You know what you want to do by eliminating what you don't want to do. I always thought it was advertising because I was lured into that world. And then I interned at an ad agency, Ogilvy and Mather, and I was just like, this
Just
is
not
not
for
for
me.
me. Yeah. And so I think it was all very gradual, but those were the steps that sort of led up to enjoying being in the limelight.
Very interesting. But
Yeah.
what was that pivotal moment in your life where you knew you wanted to be in media?
So like I said, I just enjoyed being in front of the camera and going through just watching the news with my parents and things like that. I was always very fascinated, and as a kid we used to always watch a lot of Oprah Winfrey. My mom was addicted, so by virtue I started watching it with her. And I think just sort of watching that show, and yeah, her story was so inspirational. She sort of brought out the story for each individual. She was so empathetic, and I think I just enjoyed watching that, and it sort of resonated with me,
Yeah.
which is why a few of those moments really built up, and I liked the lure of the media industry.
Great,
Yeah.
great. So tell us a little bit about your journey in the media industry.
So I've been here. I feel so old, but I mean, I've been with ET now for over 15 years.
Okay.
I started off initially. It wasn't that I just started off anchoring. It wasn't all rainbows and butterflies. I was initially like a junior assistant producer when I started off. Before that, I was working at a production house, very small. It was a super tiny team, and we were actually doing horse racing and production. But you know what? It's when you work with a very small team that I understood the ins and outs of production, writing, scripting, voiceovers. We sort of were a tiny team who did everything.
Mm.
But back to being in journalism and with the channel, so I started off as sort of a junior assistant producer, and it sort of went on from there. Because the channel was just launching, we had anchor training workshops, we had a lot of capital markets training, so I learned everything on the job. And I don't know if many people know this, but my stint to come live on air during the weekday was actually a stroke of luck or chance, because the anchor who was supposed to show up, her alarm didn't go off, or for some reason she wasn't there, and they were like, you've been doing enough training, you've been anchoring on the
You're ready.
weekends, you're ready, get made up, put on your makeup, go. So, I mean, it was super unnerving. It was a 7 a.m. show, but still, I mean, being live on a
Yeah.
weekday on a business
big
news
deal.
channel, it was so unnerving. But I think after that, everyone was like, hey, you did such a great job. You were so good at this. I think that instilled so much confidence. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I can do this. So, yeah, that helped.
So tell us that, I know recently that you've been doing some things and stepping out of your comfort zone.
Mm.
So tell us a little bit about that. You've been taking on some new projects, doing things differently. You've always sort of worked at
Yeah.
this particular news channel. But now I know that you're also consulting
Yeah.
and not, specifically working for them. So how's that entire sort of
Yeah.
transition been like for you?
Actually, I read this thing just a few days ago that stepping out of your comfort zone is one of the toughest things to do.
Yes.
But it is important to step out of your comfort zone so that you can realize the life that you really want to achieve and the life that you dream of.
Yeah, that's actually so true.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was very conscious also.
Really?
Just
Yeah.
being in front of the camera was very
Oh.
unnerving for me.
You need tips from me.
And yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but you
But-
decided
But
to
I decided to
take the
step,
plunge.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there were days where I would just like sort of stand in
Mm.
front of the selfie camera and like just
Oh.
record myself
Yeah.
just so that I can get over that
Right,
fear.
it's so important to
It
do
is.
that. Yeah, so I think for me, I've grown up in a family where my parents are all about, they've been in the same profession. My dad has been a chartered accountant for 30 plus years, same company. My mom has been a teacher for years on end, and they were sort of like, you stick with the same job, you're consistent.
Yeah.
So stepping out of that was very difficult for me to do, but thankfully my husband's like an entrepreneur, and I think he nudged me on. So I said, what do I have to lose? And I was also listening to a very interesting podcast today that just talks about how, life it's not the dress rehearsal. This is the one chance that you get. So you have to give it your all. You have to take the plunge. You have to make those decisions, step out of your comfort zone. And I guess after being with the industry for so long, I mean, I'm still a consultant, but I said, let me do this on my own. So now I'm emceeing shows. I love doing live events, moderating, panel discussions, voiceovers, communication workshops, those kind of things, which is my forte.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
great. Very, very interesting. So, how do you manage all of this all at once? Give us some tips, because these days it's so hard to sort of multitask.
Yeah, I always picture this, like these memes where you see this woman like very well turned out, but she's got like a baby in one hand and a blow dryer and like a spoon in the other
Yeah, I
and a
feel like that
laptop.
woman.
Right? We're always doing so many things. I think women have it in them to multitask. But having said that, I mean, if you go through my phone, my calendar is like color coded and it is jam packed. I always have a to-do list.
Yeah.
So I love ticking things off. So I guess I'm just very structured. I'm pretty organized like that. I try to, manage my time, between work, doing my consulting stuff, putting myself out there. My child, I'm a mom of a 3-year-old. So, just trying to really manage
Yeah.
my time it's pretty key to be organized, I think.
Yeah. I think I could take some tips from you over there, because
Yeah.
I have a 1.5-year-old as well,
Oh, yeah.
and sometimes
It's
I'm
not
just
easy,
like,
right?
it's-
And it takes a village. I'm not gonna
It-
lie.
it
I
does. It
mean,
does take a village.
I'm not
Like
gonna be
today-
like I'm doing everything. I'm not.
you can't
I
possibly
can't
be-
possibly be in all places at all times.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
So, your longest stint has been a host,
A news anchor,
a
yeah.
news anchor, and you do news anchoring for like a finance channel where you talk about the capital markets,
Mm.
and there's so much going on
Yeah.
in the capital markets.
Yeah.
Literally on a minute by minute basis,
For
I
sure.
can say that there's so much going on. How do you manage to keep yourself sort of updated with everything that's happening?
It's interesting that I actually started off at the ticker desk. I don't know if you know what the ticker is,
Yeah,
like where
yeah,
that
the thing
news
that
comes
comes
out.
down.
So
Yeah, of
you put
course.
on all the news, and that's where I started. So it basically means that I had multiple screens from news agencies,
Okay.
and you had to filter out all the important news and put it out. So I think having my foundation there sort of got me accustomed to the fact that there's always something happening, there's always news, you need to cull out what's important. And I started off by doing that. I had great people to work with, so learning from them, picking up from them. And I guess you just need to stay up to speed in terms of reading news from different sources. Today we have our phones where we
Yeah.
have everything at the access of a button. So just keeping yourself well informed and reading up and things like that is what really helped, because there's so much going on at one time. Yeah.
So since you mentioned, you read your news on the phone, like most of us do these days, but there's also print media that is still a very big part of our country.
Yeah.
How do you see print media coexisting with digital media?
It's interesting that you ask that, because I am still a person who, I have the Kindle, but I prefer like just the
Physical
touch. The
books.
physical books are still my thing. I love the newspaper, reading it leisurely versus online news. No doubt that you have to be on top of your game with your digital presence. I actually looked this up on Chat GPT, so I'm confessing that. But today's audience, the Gen Z or the millennials, they want news that is at the tip of their fingers. They want to be updated with things that are visually appealing. It has to be short, it has to be crisp. They want on demand consumption.
Yeah.
It's not like how everyone reads your newspaper in the morning and that's it, you're done for the
Yeah.
day. It's as things are developing, it's not just one source, they want multiple sources. So to keep up with this, I think that even print companies need to have a strong digital presence and need to adapt to all of this now that the audience is also changing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Avan, tell us about like an interesting moment or an interesting interview that you did in your early career that sort of helped create an impact on you.
Yeah, I'm interviewing some of the top corporate voices and the biggest market men in the country, and of course, the knowledge that you gain from that and the insights, it's absolutely invaluable. But what really molded me as a person, I used to have this segment called By the Way. And it was just interviewing these people who had just started off and were blossoming, sort of entrepreneurs at a time when entrepreneurs were not sexy. This was
Yeah.
like a long time back.
Yeah.
And for example, I interviewed people like, say, a Pooja Dhingra when she just started out, or Anshika Parvani and things like that. And, some of their stories, it was pretty interesting. Now that I'm actually thinking about it, a lot of them left their cushy corporate jobs, like they were studying law, and they left it to follow their dreams and their passions. And it's stories like that that really hit home. And, you think about the kind of journeys that they've had to undertake, the risks that they've had to take. And I also host the show Startup Central, where I'm interviewing entrepreneurs day in and out. And it's so interesting and insightful to hear their journeys, how they've grown, how they've started out. The likes of, venture capitalists. I spoke with Kunal Shah recently as well, who spoke about, failure and things like that. So I wouldn't say it's just that one interview, but maybe a culmination of many. But I really enjoy the sort of entrepreneurial journeys that people have taken.
Very interesting.
Yeah, much like you guys.
That is true, actually.
Yeah,
I mean,
right?
we do also take inspiration from a lot
Were you
of
guys, working at, did
yeah,
you
yeah,
have like a
yeah,
full-time
yeah,
job?
absolutely.
And
So both Siley and me
yeah.
were working
See,
full-time
I'm interviewing, I'm
jobs.
doing it again.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but that's okay.
Yeah.
But we both were working full-time jobs in the corporate world.
See, there you go.
And it was those like long hours that you're putting in every day,
Yeah.
corporate politics, everything that comes along with that.
Yeah.
And yeah, like Siley got fed up one fine day and she said, I don't want to do this. I want to do something for myself. And very soon she reached out to me, and I was also on the brink of like quitting my job, and this was just like the push that I needed.
Yeah. You need that push
Yeah,
sometimes.
and both of us are childhood friends, so we have that sort of comfort with each other.
That's amazing.
So yeah, it was an easy decision and a good one.
And you're living your dream life.
And now we're living our dream life, and we're our own bosses. It comes with
Amazing.
its own set of
Oh, for
challenges,
sure.
but it's still, I would say, for me,
Yeah.
being very honest, it's better than being in the corporate world.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
there's definitely that.
Yeah.
So Aman, tell me, in the media industry, you've worked alongside, a lot of professionals, a lot of people who are well established. Who is somebody or a few people, it could be, that you look up to in this industry?
We have some amazing journalists in this industry, no doubt. I haven't had the opportunity to work with them, but I definitely do look up to them. I mean, you have the likes of Prannoy Roy, or globally, I love Hala Gurani. She's with CNN, and she was doing very impactful stories with a lot of meaning. I loved her style of journalism. Or even someone like a Faye D'Souza. I did have the privilege of working with
Oh,
her.
wow,
Yeah, I
interesting.
did, and just amazing, just the stuff that you learn from her. And I actually, she had me do a very tiny segment on her show back then, Investor's Guide. Feels like forever ago, but just I just absolutely loved her style, her confidence, even her communication skills were absolutely amazing, the way she resonated with people and things like that. So yeah, I would say that these are some of the people I do look up to.
Great. That's
Yeah.
that's interesting. Um, Tell me a little bit about your journey in the social media world. I mean,
Mm.
how's that sort of shaped up for you so far?
Oh gosh. No, I say oh gosh only because on the one side, it is so critical and important to have a social media presence. And I'm so well aware of that, which is why I feel I'm like perpetually putting myself out there. Like all I'm doing is I say I'm pimping myself. Like I did this, I did that, I'm going to do this. But I think that that's critical, especially doing what I am today. But at the same time, it can really get you sucked in and, can have an adverse impact. Like sometimes I feel, for example, even when I'm just sitting in the car or I'm waiting on someone, I'm always going through my phone and pretty much on Instagram a lot. And I
Yeah.
want to try and curb that very consciously.
Yeah.
But having said that, social media, what a boon it is, because I mean, I reach out to you guys on social media,
Yeah.
right? And, vice versa. So a lot of connections that you make, sometimes you can reach out to people who you wouldn't be able to otherwise.
Right.
So I guess building your brand, your presence, all very critical on social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, we couldn't agree more. We've built our
Yeah.
entire business model on social media. So,
Exactly. And platforms like LinkedIn and stuff. I mean, I'm getting work from there. It's so
yeah,
it's important
it's
to
great.
just keep
And,
that
and I
going.
feel like, there's somebody sort of listening to you on each of these platforms, maybe like different
Yeah.
kind of listeners
Sure.
across different platforms. But,
Yeah.
if you have something to say, there is an audience
Oh, for
that's
sure.
going to consume it.
Yeah.
So I guess
I mean, having said that, there's also a lot it clutter. You
yeah,
don't want
yeah,
to listen to
of
everyone,
course.
but
There is a
yes.
lot of clutter,
But you
there's
can
a
get
lot of
your voice
negativity, there is
out there, which was never
yeah.
ever possible, right? Even things like Twitter, for example, that's my brand bashing page. Sometimes I feel like when I have an issue with a company or something, and the people are prompt, they don't want their image to
Get
get
tarnished in any way.
tarnished, so they'll
Yeah.
reach right back out to you. Whereas if I think about it, like maybe 20 years ago, how difficult would it be to reach out to a brand if something didn't come to you,
Yeah.
or a company, or if your card wasn't working? It was always a struggle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Avan, I also know that you host a lot of communication skills workshops for corporates.
Yeah.
What are the typical challenges that they face in a corporate with
Yeah.
regards to communication?
I would say one of the major things I've found, and I've done a reel on this, is being assertive without being aggressive.
Hmm.
You want to get your point, you want your raise, you want to get that pitch, but you don't want to sound too aggressive, right? So I think that would be a challenge for people, how to communicate that without sounding aggressive, but
Hmm.
still getting your point across. I think a lot of people also, not everyone in the room has the confidence to stand up and say, hey, I think this should work, or have the confidence to even speak in front of the public or a small room of people. So, a lot of confidence issues. And then maybe inconsistency when it comes to communicating a message. So, to make sure that, nobody reads between the lines, but you actually get your message out there.
Hmm.
Those are some of the things that they struggle with.
Okay, and
Yeah.
how do you help them overcome these challenges?
I think that there are a few tips. For example, being prepared is very critical. So to make sure that, like you said, for example, you said I would put on my selfie camera, and I just did that. Just doing stuff like that consistently, reading out loud in front of the mirror or recording yourself, you can check on all your mistakes. So it's
Yeah.
important to be prepared to practice, especially if you're not confident enough to do it. And I would say that authenticity engages. When you talk to someone, it could even be your boss or a peer or a colleague. When you say, hey, you know what, I'm actually really nervous about today, or I had a really bad day, so maybe this doesn't come off well. When you tell them about your personal story, something clicks, something
Hmm.
inside says that,
Hmm.
you know what, or when I told you about how I was a shy child, maybe
Hmm.
you would be like, oh, so that's interesting. It's not like I was born confident.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
something sort of just
Just that
clicks.
vulnerability, I
The
guess.
vulnerability is not it's not a setback,
Yeah.
but it's something that people can actually engage with, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I would say
Nice.
some of those tips. Yeah.
Nice, very interesting. So, with the advancements in AI,
Yeah.
how do you see that impacting the media industry as a whole?
I think it's going to be huge because I would say in finance, especially the kind of strides that are being made with AI, it's probably one of the most mature sectors versus other fields when it comes to Gen AI. I think stuff like fraud detection
Hmm.
will be much easier
Hmm.
with the AI. I think things like personal finance
Hmm.
will also be a lot more smoother with AI. So a lot is happening. There are fund managers across the globe as well who are using AI to cull out historical data, predictive analysis. All of that is happening with the help of this technology.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like you know, AI I think is just here to make things quicker, faster, easier,
100%.
especially in the field of finance where things are changing so quickly.
Mm.
There's so much going on, that sometimes it's hard to keep up.
Yeah.
So I think AI can
It can be
only
your little
help.
CFO.
Yeah, yeah, it,
Yeah.
it really can.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's really hard to keep up.
Yeah.
Especially when like someone like you is managing so many different roles at the same time.
Yeah.
It's kind of difficult to sort of be everywhere at once.
Yeah, so this definitely helps.
Yeah.
Its tasks are made so much easier. And it's interesting because I talk to a lot of tech experts and VCs, and I'm always like, is it going to overtake human jobs? Is it going to be more of a bane than a boon? And they say that, you can't categorize it as one or the other.
Yeah.
It is definitely going to be a skill that will be mandatory for people now, even
Yeah.
when it comes to hiring, to have the skills for AI, because it is only improving efficiency.
Right.
It is making a lot of those time consuming jobs a lot easier.
Easier.
So there is a lot of big plus points that come
Yeah,
with it.
absolutely. Like interestingly enough, we spoke to another guest on our show, and he's from the entertainment and media industry as well. And we spoke a lot about AI and technology and innovation
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But the one thing that he said was that he
Mhm.
would still lay so much more emphasis on people skills
Right. No, but that
than
is
just
yeah.
relying on AI. He's like,
No, for
AI,
sure.
it will help you with technology, it can help you innovate and all of that. But if your people don't understand those innovations and are not willing to sort of adapt and adopt those technologies, then you're literally going to be stuck.
Yeah, so like I said, it's never going to take over, but
Yeah.
it is so important to integrate that with what you do, which is something I think it's going to be a skill that in the next few years will be as important as the internet boom was, say, a few years ago. So, but people skills, having said that, having your own personal brand, your own skills, that is still very,
Yeah.
very critical and
Absolutely.
important in today's day and
Absolutely.
age. Yeah.
So, being a news anchor is a very exciting job.
Yeah.
And I'm sure like there's so much that goes on behind the scenes. So, what's it like being in that newsroom, dealing with so many people, so much information?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
There's that show was called The Newsroom, and they used to ask me, is it like that? And it really is like that. Of course, that was general news. This is business.
But
So
that
things change.
show was great.
Right. Yeah. So it is like that. And I would have to say that, what you see on air, that one anchor sitting in the studio, it is a huge team effort. There are so many people behind the scenes who are the real heroes, I think, that make things happen. So, yeah, you get into work. I mean, you have the production control room, which is where all the magic happens, from your audio to mixing to graphics to your producer giving you instructions. We wear what is called a earpiece. So, yes, we are getting instructions from the studio director and from the producer throughout the show that we are anchoring. So, you have to be attentive and, sort of listen into those
Yeah.
cues. And that's where, like I said, all the magic happens. And then you have your mic, you're the anchor who's looking into that, sort of black hole
Yeah,
all the time. And we have like this pedal which has like the teleprompter.
Ah,
So
so
it's,
you
it's
keep
kind of like
like,
you're accelerating.
Oh my God, this is a lot of
Yeah.
multitasking.
It's a,
Like imagine somebody's talking to you at the same
Yeah.
time you're reading off the teleprompter and
Yeah.
you're sort of like
Yeah, and you have
pushing
it
the
in front of you. I mean,
paddle to like
yeah.
make it scroll. Oh my
Exactly.
God.
So you're doing all of these things. So I guess we've just been doing it so long, so now it sort of comes naturally to you.
How many years has it been?
Like this 15 plus years. I
15
mean,
plus
that I've been
years,
with the
wow.
channel. So yeah, it's been a long time. So yeah, you use the pedal to scroll the auto cue. You're not always reading off a teleprompter because a lot of the time it's like just normal conversation, questions that you're asking. So yeah, you're live on air. You're taking those instructions, 3, 2, 1, commercial breaks. Or sometimes a guest is talking too much and they're like, cut him.
Yeah.
We have someone else to go to. So you have to be able to sort of
Navigate
through
through
all of that and do all of that at one time. But yeah, a lot of heroes behind the scenes, which is what you see, that perfect little thing of the image on air.
Wow,
Yeah.
amazing. It must
Yeah.
be really exciting
It is
in that
for
newsroom.
sure. Yeah, it's an addictive place to be, without a doubt. It's so different from any other office. Like when I walk into someone else's office and everyone's quiet. We're so used to screaming in the newsroom. They're like, hey, can I have this? Is my audio? Somebody's recording a promo saying I'm so and so and you're watching. I mean, we're so used to, you just walk by someone, you won't even think anything of it. So it's a very electrifying, loud, exciting place to be compared to like a boring 9 to 5 office, for sure. Yeah.
Great. That's good information that I didn't have. Nice.
Yeah.
So since this is a finance podcast and we love asking all our guests this question, how do you manage your personal finances? And you run your own little consultancy also now. So how do you manage money for your consultancy versus your own personal finances? How does that whole bit work?
If I'm being super honest, I'm blessed with my dad, who's like a chartered accountant and who's very involved in the markets and stuff. So he does a lot of dealing with that for me. But having said that, I think it is important for people to know that you should not play a game that is risky or something that you don't understand. Don't just jump or dive into something because of FOMO. Make sure that you understand the concept. Steady, disciplined, long-term investing is definitely the way to go. Mutual funds, keeping it simple, do what you understand, and that's something that I do as well. But raising my own invoices and things like that, I never had to do that earlier. So now definitely dealing. I mean, I'm learning along the way with all of this as well, because it's something that I never had to do. But it's important as well for women to be in control of their finances and know what's going on.
Absolutely. I mean, I
guess you guys are the best example of that.
No, but so honestly, we come from the field of finance. This is what we've studied, and it makes things easier for us. But we speak to a lot of people on a, probably a daily basis who aren't from this particular field. And they find it really hard and intimidating to sort of even talk about money. Talking about money is your first step.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Only once you get comfortable talking about it, then you'll be able to ask a few more questions to a few people and be like, okay, now what do I do? You don't need to be an expert at managing your own money, but as long as you know what's happening to your money.
Exactly. I think it's important that you're not completely dependent on someone else, and that you know what's happening with your money, where what is. Unless you have someone who you can completely trust, but definitely to know what's happening on your own so you can ask the right questions. I think that would be
that's
very critical.
That's exactly what we do.
Right.
With our page also, where we're trying to educate people about the basics of personal finance. You don't need to be an expert.
No.
This isn't a skill that you can't acquire.
Absolutely.
With a little bit of basic knowledge, a little bit of reading up on a few things, and just being slightly more aware, you can invest your money with the help of good fund managers and entrust them to do their job, as opposed to sort of taking the stress of it.
Of course. There's experts who know their stuff, and you can entrust your money with them. But I think it's important to know what where is, and not being completely dependent on someone else to be clued in.
Absolutely.
That's critical.
So if someone's looking at becoming an anchor or doing any one of these things that you do so well, what is a piece of sort of advice that you would give them, or something that they must keep in mind before entering the industry? Some ways in which they can sort of upskill or gain that knowledge or
Yeah.
experience before they sort of dive in.
Yeah, I would say definitely, of course, if you're getting into news, it would be critical to know your stuff and have that background in journalism and whatever it is that you've studied. It is the educational qualifications aside. Um, Given that we're talking so much about being, having an online presence and a brand, I think it would be a good idea to watch some shows, record yourself, put yourself out there. So when you go, you can say, you can take a look at my videos. This is what I've done, even if it's something small, even if you've interviewed someone, just keep practicing and sort of get yourself out there. That's critical. Do internships, because sometimes, like I said, it's what what you don't want to do. So getting your hands dirty, working in every field. Maybe you're interning to be an anchor and you realize that you enjoy the production part of it
Yeah.
more, or you like being a reporter more. So just getting in there, starting somewhere, is very critical. And reach out to people in the industry. Don't hesitate to make that call or ask someone. And I guess take communication tips from me. Yeah.
Absolutely. Great. So this was such a great chat, Avan.
Thank you so
Thanks for
much,
being on our
Niti.
show.
Absolutely. So it's been such a fun podcast with Niti and the lovely girls at Fin Cocktail. And I think we've given out some really fun, I think from the heart conversation that we've had. So do like, follow, share, and comment. And I hope you guys enjoy. Do share your feedback.
Thanks. Thanks for doing this with us.
Thank you.